First things first, what exactly is a Sigma male? In simple words, a Sigma male is a man who prefers to live outside the traditional social hierarchies. You know how society often talks about alpha males, the leaders, the dominant guys at the top of the social ladder. Well, Sigma males are different. They don't seek out attention or power, but they're still confident, independent, and self-reliant. They choose to walk their own path rather than follow the crowd. The idea of Sigma males has gained a lot of popularity recently, especially on social media and in certain online communities. People are drawn to the idea of being free from societal expectations and living life on their own terms. But as with anything that gets popular, there's also been a lot of backlash. So why do Sigma males get so much criticism? Let's break it down. The first reason is that a lot of people simply misunderstand what a Sigma male really is. Some think it's just another way to avoid responsibility or to justify being antisocial. Others see it as an excuse for not engaging in normal social behaviors. But in reality, Sigma males are just men who prefer to live life on their own terms. They're not against society, they just don't feel the need to conform to every norm. Another reason for the criticism is that Sigma males challenge traditional gender roles. Society has long placed value on the alpha male, the leader, the assertive one. When someone comes along and says, "Hey, I don't need to be the leader to be successful or happy," it can ruffle some feathers. People are often uncomfortable with ideas that challenge the status quo. Then there's the fact that some people misuse the term Sigma male. Unfortunately, in some cases, the term has been co-opted by people who use it to justify negative behaviors, like being arrogant, dismissive, or antisocial. This misuse can lead to a lot of negative perceptions, and as a result, the entire concept gets criticized. And let's not forget the role of the internet. Online, Sigma males have become a bit of a meme. There are countless jokes and stereotypes about Sigma males, many of which paint them in a negative light. Memes can be fun, but they can also oversimplify and distort what being a Sigma male really means. Lastly, there's the fear of nonconformity. In a world where people often feel pressured to fit in and follow trends, someone who goes against the grain can seem threatening. Sigma males represent a form of nonconformity, which can make others uncomfortable. Criticism can sometimes be a way for people to express their discomfort with things they don't fully understand. But here's the thing. Being a Sigma male isn't all bad. In fact, there are a lot of positives to this mindset. Sigma males tend to be self-sufficient, introspective, and comfortable with who they are. They're often very driven and focused on their goals. They may not seek out leadership roles, but when they do take charge, it's often in a quiet, effective way. So why do Sigma males get so much criticism? It comes down to misunderstanding, fear of the unfamiliar, and sometimes the misuse of the term. But if we look past the stereotypes and really understand what a Sigma male is, we can see that it's just another way of approaching life, one that values independence, self-reliance, and staying true to oneself. But not everyone understood Mark's way of life. Some people saw him as distant, aloof, or even arrogant because he didn't fit into the usual social roles. They criticized him for not being more outgoing, for not seeking leadership positions, and for not following the same path as everyone else. Mark's quiet confidence was often mistaken for coldness, and his independence was seen as a lack of team spirit. People didn't understand that Mark wasn't rejecting them, he was simply choosing to live his life on his own terms. As time went on, the criticism grew. Mark was labeled as antisocial, difficult to approach, and even selfish. But Mark remained true to himself. He knew that the path he had chosen was right for him, even if others didn't see it that way. One day, a project at work required Mark to take the lead. Though he wasn't the type to seek out leadership roles, he accepted the challenge. He led with quiet determination, focusing on the work rather than seeking praise or recognition. To everyone's surprise, the project was a huge success. Mark's unique approach, his ability to think independently, his calm under pressure, and his focus on results made all the difference. People began to see Mark in a new light. They realized that his way of doing things, though different, had its strengths. The very traits that had once drawn criticism were now being praised. Mark hadn't changed who he was, he had simply shown the value of walking his own path. So what can we learn from Mark's story? The lesson is clear: being different isn't a bad thing. In fact, it can be a strength. Sigma males like Mark show us that you don't have to fit into society's predefined roles to be successful or happy. Criticism often comes from a place of misunderstanding or fear of the unfamiliar. But if you stay true to yourself, even in the face of criticism, you can find your own path to success. Embrace your uniqueness. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between rolling hills, lived a young girl named Lily. Lily wasn't like the other kids in her town. While they were all interested in sports and games, Lily had a passion for painting. She would spend hours in her room, mixing colors and creating beautiful pictures that expressed her deepest thoughts and feelings. But Lily often felt out of place. The other kids didn't understand her love for art. They teased her for being different, for not joining in with their games. They called her names and made her feel like she didn't belong. Lily began to question herself. Maybe she should put away her paints and brushes, she thought. Maybe she should try harder to fit in, to be like everyone else. But every time she tried to ignore her love for art, she felt a deep sadness inside. It was as if a part of her was missing. One day, while she was walking home from school, Lily noticed an old man sitting on a bench in the park. He was watching the world around him with a kind, gentle smile. Curious, Lily approached him. The old man introduced himself as Mr. Harris, a retired artist who had traveled the world. He saw the sadness in Lily's eyes and asked her what was troubling her. Lily told him about her love for painting and how it made her different from the other kids. She confessed that she felt like she didn't belong. Mr. Harris listened carefully, and when Lily finished, he smiled and said, "Lily, the world is full of people who try to fit in, but the ones who stand out are the ones who embrace their uniqueness. Your love for painting is a gift. It's what makes you, you. Don't hide it away just because others don't understand it. Embrace it, nurture it, and let it shine." The world needs your art, even if not everyone sees it yet. Mr. Harris's words struck a chord in Lily. She realized that trying to be like everyone else wasn't the answer. Her love for painting was a part of who she was, and it was something worth celebrating, not hiding. From that day on, Lily embraced her uniqueness. She spent more time painting, letting her creativity flow without worrying about what others thought. Slowly, people in her town began to notice the beauty in her work. Her paintings brought joy to those who saw them, and eventually, even the kids who once teased her started to admire her talent. Lily's story teaches us a powerful lesson. Embracing your uniqueness is not just about accepting who you are, but celebrating it. When you stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start living authentically, you give the world something only you can offer. So how can we apply this lesson in our own lives? Start by recognizing what makes you unique. It could be a talent, a passion, or even a way of thinking. Whatever it is, don't hide it away. Nurture it, embrace it, and let it shine. The world needs your unique gifts, even if not everyone sees it right away. Remember, it's the people who dare to be different who often make the biggest impact. Just like Lily, you have something special inside you. So don't be afraid to stand out. Embrace your uniqueness and let the world see the real you. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this story inspired you, or if you know someone who could use a reminder to embrace their uniqueness, please share this video with them. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories and content like this. Remember, you are unique, and that's your greatest strength. Until next time, keep shining. Stay true to yourself. There was once a young man named David. David grew up in a small town where everyone seemed to know everything about each other. From a young age, he was known for being kind, honest, and a bit of a dreamer. He had big ambitions. He wanted to travel the world, write books, and make a difference in people's lives. But as he got older, the people around him started to question his dreams. "Why don't you just stay here and get a steady job like everyone else?" they would say. "You're too nice for your own good. You need to toughen up if you want to succeed in life." The voices of doubt grew louder, and soon David found himself at a crossroads. The pressure to fit in was strong. His friends and family had good intentions, but their words made David doubt himself. He wondered if they were right. Maybe he should just follow the path laid out for him, even if it meant giving up on his dreams and changing who he was. But deep down, David knew that if he tried to be someone he wasn't, he would lose a part of himself. The thought of living a life that wasn't truly his own filled him with a quiet sadness. One evening, David went for a walk to clear his mind. As he walked along the familiar streets of his hometown, he reflected on his life and his choices. He thought about the times when he had felt most alive, when he was writing, exploring new ideas, or simply being kind to someone who needed it. Those moments, he realized, were when he was being true to himself. David sat down on a bench and looked up at the night sky, filled with countless stars. Each star, he thought, was like a person, shining in its own way, in its own place. No two stars were the same, yet together they created something beautiful. In that moment, David understood that staying true to himself wasn't just important, it was necessary. With renewed clarity, David made a decision. He would not let the expectations of others define him. He would pursue his dreams, even if they seemed far-fetched to those around him. He would remain kind and honest, even if the world sometimes saw these traits as weaknesses. David chose to trust himself and to stay true to who he was. Over time, David's life unfolded in ways he could never have imagined. He traveled to places he had only dreamed of, wrote books that touched people's hearts, and made a difference in ways big and small. And through it all, he stayed true to himself. David's story reminds us that staying true to yourself is not always easy, but it's always worth it. The world may try to change you, to mold you into something you're not, but only you know who you truly are. When you stay true to yourself, you find a path that is uniquely yours, and you live a life that is authentic and fulfilling. So how can we apply this lesson in our own lives? Start by listening to your inner voice, the one that knows what you really want and who you really are. Trust that voice, even when it's drowned out by the noise of others' opinions. Be kind to yourself and remember that you don't have to change to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. Your uniqueness is your strength, and staying true to yourself is the key to unlocking your full potential. Understand others. There once lived a man named James. James was successful by most people's standards. He had a good job, a nice home, and plenty of friends. But there was one thing that often troubled him. He found it difficult to connect deeply with others. Whenever someone shared their problems or concerns, James would listen, but he always felt like he didn't fully understand what they were going through. He would offer advice, but it often fell flat, leaving him feeling disconnected. One day, James had a conversation with his neighbor, Mrs. Turner, an elderly woman who had lived on his street for decades. She spoke about how much she missed her late husband and how lonely she felt now that her children had moved away. James, trying to be helpful, responded by saying, "At least you had many happy years together, and you have wonderful memories to hold on to." Mrs. Turner smiled politely, but James could sense that his words hadn't brought her the comfort he intended. As he walked back to his house, he wondered why he had failed to connect with her feelings. He realized that he had been so focused on providing a positive perspective that he hadn't truly tried to understand the depth of her loneliness. Later that week, James had an encounter that would change his approach to understanding others. He was walking through the park when he noticed a stray dog sitting alone by a bench. The dog looked hungry and tired. Without thinking twice, James sat down next to the dog, gently petting its head. The dog leaned into his touch, and for a moment they simply sat there together, sharing a quiet moment of connection. In that simple act of sitting with the dog, James realized something profound. The dog didn't need his advice or solutions, it just needed someone to be there, to understand its loneliness without trying to fix it. It was then that James understood the true meaning of empathy, being present with someone in their moment of need, without trying to change their feelings or situation. With this new understanding, James began to change the way he interacted with others. The next time he spoke with Mrs. Turner, he didn't try to offer solutions or shift the conversation to something positive. Instead, he simply listened, really listened. He allowed her to express her feelings, her memories, and her pain. He acknowledged her loneliness without trying to take it away. To his surprise, Mrs. Turner opened up more than she ever had before. She shared stories of her life, her fears, and even her hopes. James didn't feel the need to say much, he just offered his presence and understanding. In return, he felt a deep connection with her, one that he had never experienced before. James' story teaches us that understanding others isn't about giving advice or fixing their problems. It's about being present, listening with empathy, and acknowledging their feelings. When we take the time to truly understand others, we create deeper, more meaningful connections. We open ourselves up to a world of diverse experiences and perspectives, and in doing so, we become more compassionate, more connected, and more human. So how can we apply this lesson in our own lives? Start by practicing active listening when someone is speaking to you. Focus on what they're saying without thinking about how you'll respond. Try to put yourself in their shoes and feel what they're feeling. Sometimes all someone needs is for you to acknowledge their experience without offering advice or trying to change the situation. Remember, understanding others is a skill that takes practice, but it's one that can transform your relationships and your life. The next time someone shares something with you, take a moment to truly understand where they're coming from. It might just be the most meaningful gift you can give.